start.
Okay. जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवर नारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवर नारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवर नारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवर नारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Jaya Laddu Gopal, Laddu Gopal, Laddu Gopal, Jaya Laddu Gopal, Laddu Gopal, Laddu Gopal, Laddu Gopal, Jaya Laddu Gopal. Jaya Jagannath, Jagannath, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jagannath, Jagannath, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Haribo, 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 Jaya Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev. हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय श्री गुरु आज की जय श्री गुरु महाराज की गौर प्रणाम मंत्रा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय गौर प्रमानंद। ओम नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1, text number 8. Jayakare tu sattvasya, Jayakare tu sattvasya, Devarsin rajasa suran, Devarsin rajaso suran, Tamaso yaksharakhyamsim, Tamaso yaksharakhyamsi, Tatkalanuguna bhajat, Tatkalanuguna bhajat. Jayakare tu sattvasya, Jayakare tu sattvasya, Devarsin rajaso suran, Devarsin rajaso suran, Tamaso yaksharakhyamsi, Tamaso yaksharakhyamsi, Tatkalanuguna bhajat, Tatkalanuguna bhajat. And lift go. Listen. When the quality of goodness is prominent, the sages and demigods flourish with the help of that quality, with which they are infused and surcharged by the Supreme Lord. Similarly, when the mode of passion is prominent, the demons flourish, and when ignorance is prominent, the Yakshas and Rakshasas flourish. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in everyone's heart, fostering the reactions of Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Purport by His Divine Grace of Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not partial to anyone. The conditioned soul is under the influence of the various modes of material nature. And behind material nature is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one's victory and loss under the influence of Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna are reactions of these modes, not of this Supreme Lord's partiality. Srila Jiva Goswami in the Bhagavad Sandarbha has clearly said, Sattvadayana santi se yatra cha prakruta gunaha sasuddhaha sarvasuddhevya pumanadhyah prasidattu hadini sandhini sambhit toyeka sarvasamstitau hradatapa kari misra rahino gunavarjite. According to this statement of the Bhagavad Sandarbha, can I look for? According to this statement of the Bhagavata Sandarbha, the Supreme Lord, being always transcendental to the material qualities, is never affected by the influence of these qualities. The same characteristic is also present in the living being. But because he is conditioned by material nature, even the pleasure potency of the Lord is manifested in the conditioned soul as troublesome. In the material world, the pleasure enjoyed by the conditioned soul is followed by many painful conditions. For instance, we have seen that in the two great wars which are conducted by the Rajoguna and Tamoguna, both parties were actually ruined. The German people declared war against the English to ruin them, but the result was that both parties were ruined. Although the Allies were apparently victorious, at least on paper, actually neither of them were victorious. Therefore, it should be concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not partial to anyone. Everyone works under the influence of various modes of material nature, and when the various modes are prominent, the demigods or demons appear victorious under the influence of various modes of material nature. Okay. Everyone enjoys the fruits of his qualitative activities. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, 11 to 13. Sarvadvaresu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yada tada vidyat vibudham sattvam ityuta labha pravrutira rambha karmanam sammaha spruha rajasyetani jayante vibrude bharatarsava aprakasha pravrutischa pramada mahayevacha tamasyetani jayante vibrude kurunandana. The manifestations of the modes of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. The chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor develop. O son of Kuru, when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart, simply gives the results of the increase in various qualities, but he is impartial. He supervises victory and loss, but he does not take part in them. The various modes of material nature do not work all at once. The interactions of these modes are exact like seasonal changes. Sometimes there is an increase of Rajoguna, sometimes of Tamoguna, and sometimes Sattoguna. Generally, the demigods are surcharged with Sattoguna, and therefore when the demons and the demigods fight, the demigods are victorious because of the prominence of their Sattoguna qualities. However, this is not the partiality of the Supreme Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Samrupakadamayam Dadadi Sopadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Udagamam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Savala Raghunatanitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Savala Sri Visakhanitam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutani Srimate Bhakti Surupa Damodara Swami Niti Namine Nama Sadbhakta Mane Manipurudhavaya Prabhupada Sadvani Vichara Niratayate Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutani Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasudeve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desvatadine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Tuse Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Usavanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patidanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukhaṁ karoti vācālaṁ paṅgulam khayate girim Jatkrupatamaham vande Sri Guru Dīnatarinam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Adaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances and I welcome you all to this reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we will be discussing 718. 7 plus 1 equal to 8. 718. So the nice verse. So 7th canto is particularly very dear to the devotees because that describes the qualities of the personality of Godhead and his dear devotee Prahlad Maharaj. So and the basis of that discussion was whether the Lord is partial or impartial. So that's why this chapter name is also like that. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is impartial, always impartial, but it may look like partial, and that's why here the question asked by Parikshit Maharaj and the answers given subsequently by Sukadeva Goswami. So that will indicate that how Lord is impartial in all the situations. Jayakali tu satyasya devarsin rajosa suran tamasa jakya rakamsi tad kalanuguna bhajat. So when the quality of goodness is prominent, the sages, the demigods flourish. The sages and demigods flourish. So Sattva-guna, because whatever quality one may have, or whatever mode one may have acquired. So when that mode is prominent, so those people will be very influential. So that is, for example, so earlier we used to have this, I think, I don't know. Right now we have FM radio. Earlier that was AM radio. So we used to connect to particular station, radio station. So you have to match the meter or the frequency of that particular station. So when your frequency and that frequency matches, so then you can hear it properly, clearly. So similarly, whatever modes one may acquire, so when that mode become prominent, those people will flourish. So they will flourish. Like here, we say that the sages and demigods, they are always, mostly they are in the mode of goodness. So when the mode of goodness flourishes, so these people will become very prominent. And similarly, when the mode of passion is prominent, that time the demons, the asuras will flourish. So they will become powerful at that time. And similarly, when the mode of ignorance becomes prominent, then the jakshas and rakshasas. Okay, so this is so in the human society, as Prabhupada says, that there are two kinds of people. Either they are the demigods or the demons. So demons means they are influenced by mostly in mode of passion and ignorance. And the devotees, the demigods, and the sages, of course, are mostly in the mode of goodness. So whenever that particular mode become prominent, this people will become prominent. So in the human society, now we can see, like Prabhupada gives the one example, that this World War, First and Second World War. So this World War, of course, was started by one party, another party was influenced, because see, we cannot pick a quarrel with a person in mode of goodness. So if a person comes down to mode of passion or ignorance, that time quarrel may be picked up. So suppose a person is in mode of passion or ignorance and is trying to captures other property or something. So that time the person who is influenced, if he is in Sattva Guna, so he will not bother, and that person who may try to ponder him or try to do some harm, so he cannot do anything actually. But then he will create a situation in which the other person is influenced and he provoked. So when he is influenced, he suppose he was originally in Sattva Guna, he will come down to Raja Guna or Tama Guna, and then only fight will take place. So if one maintains his particular mode of goodness, suppose one is in mode of goodness, always in the mode of goodness, and even if the other party is influenced by mode of passion or ignorance, trying to pick up quarrel, so they cannot do, because the opposite party is in the mode of goodness. So it is like this. Suppose one person is flying in air with some aeroplane. Okay, another person is traveling on the surface by car or bus. So it is not likely that they will collide. So collision is not likely to take place. So when The person who is traveling in the airplane is influenced or provoked by the person who is traveling in the bus or car, and he comes down also and travels similarly by bus or car, then there is chance of collision. So like that, the three modes actually work like that. So one cannot pick up quarrel with a higher mode and lower modes. So basically we categorize the mode of passion and ignorance in one group and mode of goodness in one group. Passion and ignorance mostly they represent the very lower modes, so they are always creating problem. So mode of person who is in mode of goodness, so he is not influenced generally by passion and ignorance. But sometimes, because as time changes, the modes influence differently. So in a particular day, so we see that in particular, say morning time, mode of goodness is prevalent. Then daytime, mode of passion is prevalent. And in night time, mode of ignorance is prevalent. So depending upon the time also, so one may be influenced. Suppose a person in mode of goodness is there, but still, so that particular mode which he possesses most of the time may be influenced due to the surroundings. Suppose in daytime, the mode of the person in mode of goodness is in the workplace or somewhere in the daytime, and he's say interacting with people who are in mode of passion and ignorance. Then he may have to come down to mode of passion and ignorance, and then there may be some conflict. So it is basically the interactions of the modes and their reactions. And because of that, whatever victory or the defeat take place. And Lord is not partial to anybody. That's what point says here. So whatever Prabhupada gives the example, and that's a World War example, that the Germans and the English, the two parties, so both were ruined. That means suppose one party is not at all affected, only loss took place to only one party, then we can say that one person is victorious. But the allied party, which is supposed to be victorious, but that also lost so many things. It was also ruined. So that's why Prabhupada says that actually there is nobody was victorious. So on paper only, it is only paper. So, so similarly, nobody was also defeated in that sense. That means it is the three modes of material nature which is acting, and Supreme Personality of Godhead is not directly involved in this. So there are certain points here we can further discuss. That influence of time, place, and circumstances. So in each and every activity, we are influenced by time, place, and circumstances. So there is a very nice verse, like how the place and time influence, particularly mantre tirthe dije dede daivagya vishaja guru jadrusi bhavana jasya siddhir bhavati tadrusi. Mantre, that means while uttering a particular mantra, whatever bhavana you have, so you will get siddhi accordingly. And tirthe means a place of pilgrimage or a place where Lord has performed some pastimes. So in that place also, whatever you may think, so you may get accordingly. DJ means the Brahmanas or Vaishnavas, DJs. So if you desire, so in presence of some saintly person, and you desire something, so that may happen. Deve, the demigods. So in presence of demigods, suppose you are worshipping demigods, so whatever bhavana is coming, so you are asking something, so prayers, so that may be granted. Daivagya. So in Daivagya also similarly, Visaje. Visaje means and the doctors or the Vaidyas, Visaje. So in presence of the Vaidyas or this research, Vaidyas, whatever this patient may think something, so if he thinks that I'll be definitely cured, I have faith in this particular person. So then it is basically faith works more than the medicine. So he'll have full faith that I'll be getting cured, so then he'll get cured. And Guru, so in presence of our Guru, so whatever we may think, whatever our mentality, whatever we may ask, so that may also be fulfilled. Jadursi bhavana, siddhir bhavati dadursi. So whatever kind of, so these are the influence of time, place and circumstances. That means most of the time we are responsible for what we are or what we are interacting. Most of the time, whatever, like, so we may take advantage of the time, place and circumstances. That's why the devotees are very intelligent. Jayajana Krishna Maja Sebada Chatur. So the devotees are very intelligent. So therefore they take advantage of this time. Like on this morning time, say early morning time, say Brahma Muhurta time. So it starts from, the mode of goodness starts from say 2 a.m., morning 2 a.m. to say 10 a.m. The peak time will be around say so 4:30 to 6. So this is most like that. That's why Srila Prabhupada has designed this this morning Mangalarati program. So in this morning hours, so that we can take maximum advantage of the mode of goodness, because the mode of goodness is very, very prevalent in this time. And we can see, you can practically observe that if we are not finishing our rounds in this particular time, in the morning time, say 5 to 7, then it will take whole day, because then Rajoguna will not allow us to continue. Because Rajoguna, so we are practicing something which is in mode of goodness, and Rajoguna is opposing, it will oppose, just like we swim against the current of a river. So that's therefore we cannot finish the round unless it becomes night. So in the morning time, it is very, very conducive, like we go along with the current of the river, because that time the Sattva Guna is prevalent. Then say 10 o'clock to 6 p.m. or say 6 p.m. So that is Rajoguna. So therefore that time we go to office and our factories and do this kind of activities. So that time mode of passion is prevalent. That time is whatever activity we do in mode of passion, that will be done quickly. Mode of goodness activity cannot be done quickly that time. Similarly, in the night time, ignorance. So ignorance means sleep. So you can sleep nicely in the night time. Daytime, if you try, even if you try, you cannot sleep. You may, so sometimes devotee may take some this power nap. So that is maybe for 10-15 minutes. That is different. So, but you cannot continuously sleep for 6 hours, just like you can sleep at the night. Because the daytime is not, that is passion. So mode of passion will not allow us to continue the mode of ignorance activity. So the devotees, as devotees, we should take advantage of this time, because at different time, different. So we are going to acquire the mode of goodness. So, or we want to be situated in the mode of goodness. So that's why we take the advantage of that particular time, which is prevalent in mode of goodness. And we do the activity of mode of goodness. By doing the activity in mode of goodness, we come to mode of goodness. Just like taking bath early in the morning. So that is an act of mode of goodness. By taking bath early in the morning, so we come to mode of goodness. By chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, we come to mode of goodness by reading scriptures, shastras, Bhagavatam, Srimad, Bhagavad Gita. So we come to mode of goodness. So that's why we do all the activities of mode of goodness when the mode of goodness is prevalent. So then, that will remain. So because we want to be situated in that particular mode of goodness, because we cannot directly jump to mode of transcendence. So the stepping up point or jumping up point is mode of goodness. We must have to come to mode of goodness before going to the transcendental modes or beyond the modes. So we must come to the mode of goodness. So therefore, whatever sadhana we do, basically all the sadhanas are we perform to come to mode of goodness and be situated there. So then the mode of goodness is quite good, very good, because for sadhana, because we will not be influenced by externals. Okay, so time has influence. So we also see from Bhagavatam itself, like that Indra lost to Body Maharaj. Indra lost to Body Maharaj, and the demigods are very much in distress, and I think they approached the personality of Godhead, and of course I think so Mother Aditi became very upset because the demigods, the Adityas, they were in distress. So she was very much worried about her sons. Then she performs one brata, that is Poya Brata, so that Lord may help, and the sons Indra and his brothers, they can regain their kingdom. So of course Lord appears. Lord becomes pleased with Aditi's prayer or the brata, and tells that this time is favorable. Right now the time, whatever is time is going on, that is favorable to the demons or this asuras, because the Bhrugu is the Brahmanas are pleased on them. Because Badi Maharaj, when Badi Maharaj was killed in that Daivasura Sangram, and his body was brought in front of Sukracharya, Sukracharya actually brought back life because he knew the Amrut Sanjivani Vidya. So after that, Badi Maharaj became so much grateful to Sukracharya and other Bhruguvamsi Brahmanas that he served them like anything. And Sukracharya and his party also became very much pleased, and they told that Badi, you have not lost anything, so we'll make you acquire all the properties of the three worlds. So we performed the Biswajit Yajna. So you are his brother. So Biswajit Yajna was performed, and then Badi Maharaj become. So from the Yajna, so much. It's a very opulent, this very wonderful chariot comes out, and Badi Maharaj was sitting there, and the Ratha was equipped with all kinds of weapons, everything, and he looks like very a gorgeous personality and very powerful personality. And when with that he tried to conquer the Sargaloka, the Indra and all his party, actually they become afraid because they could understand the influence or the power of Badi Maharaj. And when he blew his conch shell in front of Amravati, all the demigods approached Brihaspati, and Brihaspati told nothing can be done. You simply hide here and there, because we cannot defeat Badi now, because he is backed by the Brahmanas, Sukracharya and all. So their time is now prevailing. So he cannot defeat. So wait. Therefore, Lord says to Aditi that the time is now very prominent for the demons. So let us wait for the right time when these Brahmanas will no more be happy with Bodhi Maharaj. So that time I can do something, but I will try. So therefore, the Lord told Aditi and disobeyed, and he comes as Vamandev. And we see that in the Vamandev's pastime, am I audible? Am I there in the line or not?
Yes, probably.
Okay. Yeah. So, so we know all this Bodhi Maharaj pastime when he asked about this 3 steps of land. Sukracharya could understand that this is not different from the Vishnu, and he asked Bodhi Maharaj not to promise. But Bodhi Maharaj already told that I have already promised to give. But actually he promised, but he did not take the vow. So before taking the vow, actually, so Sukracharya interfered and told, you don't give now. So because you have not taken vow, so there is no harm. So you just don't give. Because he is Vishnu himself and he will take all this property you have. So but then, of course, Bodhi Maharaj, no, he told that he thought for some moment, because he is also grateful to Sukracharya because he brought his life, and he thought for a moment and said that whatever yajna and whatever austerity you people are doing or you people are asking me to do, these are to please the Vishnu, and the same Vishnu has come here and asking something and I should not give. So this cannot happen, because I cannot be ungrateful to my grandfather Prahlad Maharaj. So that was his answer. And of course, Sukracharya became upset and then he curses. So when he curses, then actually the bad time started. Bad time started for the Asuras. And then Vamandev could take away all his property. So this is influence of time. So when the time is prevailing, particular time favoring to somebody, so we cannot do anything. So we have to simply wait. So this is the one example, and there are also many examples. We know recently we have observed this Guru Purnima, this birth anniversary of Vyasdev. So Vyasdev, how he took birth, that is also very interesting, because Parasara Muni, he was a very powerful sage and he's expert in Jyotish and all. So he could see past, present and future. So he could understand that particular time, if a person take birth, then he will he'll do a great work and to this to everybody. So you know all how he took birth from Satyavati, of course. That time she was not Satyavati, she was the Mashchagandha or something. Okay. So the influence of time is there, so we have to take the advantage of time, place and circumstances. Okay. Now point is, so devotees, even if in a particular time, they are influenced by different modes, so they can actually overcome the influence of the lower modes by not responding to that particular provoking situation. That means it is in my hand whether I will be provoked or not. Suppose in the office or in my factory or wherever I am working. Okay, so that time mode of person is prevailing, and in the morning time, suppose I have done all my sadhana and mostly I am in mode of goodness. And in the office, of course, in the environment, mode of person is prevailing, and now the situation arises like somebody started scolding and all. So because of our practice in the morning sadhana, so we may think before reacting. So that time, if we are not immediately responding, not immediately counteracting, then we are preserving our mode of goodness. Otherwise, we are coming down. Suppose I trying to retaliate whatever was told or was scolded me, then I'll also come down to that particular mode, and I'll be influenced by that particular mode. Then actually I'm the loser, not the other person, because the other persons, whoever may be, so they may not be interested in the mode of goodness. They may be always in the mode of passion or ignorance. So it is therefore the sadhus, we see that even if they were harmed by many persons, they don't retaliate. Why they don't retaliate? Because of this, because they don't want to come down to the lower modes. So as devotees, we should always remain in mode of goodness, or even transcend the mode of goodness. So, but we should not be influenced because somebody is scolding you. So he may be scolding my body, he may be scolding my position. So why I am getting influenced? So that thing has to be kept in mind. And actually it is very spontaneous. So that time nothing we can remember or nothing we can do. But if we have done our sadhana, morning sadhana properly, so morning if we have completed our rounds, studied Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad or and heard some lectures. Okay, so that may help. That's why this sadhana, this morning sadhana is very, very essential for all of us, the sadhakas, devotees, practicing devotees. Otherwise, we are so like in Odia they say that how much you do, the same like a person having this, there is a disease called Godra. So Godra kodajate madasate. That means, so our sadhana will come back to zero. So the influence of our sadhana will come back to zero when we interact with the lower modes. And then we are totally down when we come back again. So then again in the evening we have to recharge our battery sadhana. So that's why therefore morning and evening, so at least hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, in the morning we complete our rounds, and then evening also we can hear some lectures. So that will again recharge us. Otherwise, evening time if we are not doing, then again when sleeping, so mode of ignorance will influence a lot. But if before sleeping we read Sri Krishna book, we read Bhagavad Gita or something little, or hear some lecture, then we may sleep not in mode of ignorance. Of course, the act is mode of ignorance, but we'll be remembering the pastimes of the Lord, and we will not be influenced. So whole our activity, whole our sadhana is based around maintaining our mode actually. Which mode we want to prevail in ourselves. Okay, so here the context is like the verse says, when the quality of goodness is prominent, the sages and demigods flourish with the help of that quality with which they are infused and surcharged by the Supreme Lord. Similarly, when the mode of passion is prominent, the demigods flourish, and when ignorance is prominent, the Jakhya Rakshasas flourish. The Supreme Personality of God is present in everyone's heart, fostering the reactions of Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna. So important thing is that because Lord actually helps those who want to cultivate that kind of mode, because he is seated in the heart. Suppose one is trying to come to mode of goodness and remain there, so he will help. And one is trying to be passionate, so he will make him passionate. And similarly, Tamoguna. So the Lord actually facilitates, even that means he sanctions whatever we may desire. So he is not directly involved. We are actually responsible for our act. So we cannot blame the Lord for our actions. Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasya ahankara vimuratma kartaham iti manyate. So Lord says that whatever activity we may do. Okay, so we are not the doer because we only desire to do, and three modes of material nature facilitate for the particular activity to be done. So we are doer in the sense that we desire to do that activity, and that's why we are responsible. And actual doer, actual activity was performed by the three modes of material nature. So the three modes of material nature, understanding the three modes of material nature is very, very important because Krishna says that it is very difficult to overcome the three modes of material nature. Okay. Mamai vaya prapadante mayamritam tarante. So those who surrender to the Lord, they will be free from these influences. Okay. Mamai vaya prapadante mayamritam tarante. So Maya acts through these three modes of material nature. And by surrendering to the Lord, we can actually overcome these three modes. Otherwise, the three modes of material nature will bind us again and again. It is actually binding. So many knots are there. So we will not be able to escape unless we surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. So not only we can surpass the mode of goodness, we can also transcend it and come to the mode of transcendence, or Suddha Sattva, the Suddha Sattva. So I may conclude here. So if you have any clarification, or if you want to add something or ask some questions, we can discuss. So thank you very much for your kind attention and patient hearing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. And thank you for this nice and elaborate class. Yeah, if anyone is having any questions regarding today's class, they can raise the hand and ask His Grace Haripal Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so just before your concluding statements, you were mentioning that so actually actions are performed by the modes, but not us. So there are three different aspects involved, or maybe you see. So sometimes it is said that we are the doer, or actually Atma is performing the action. Without action, we don't remain. So that is one aspect, and sometimes it is said that modes are the cause, or because of modes, actions are being taken place, and sometimes it is even said that actually Krishna is acting. So how to understand combinedly all these things?
It is given in this particular translation also, this verse. So Krishna is fostering the modes because he is seated in the heart. So he is directing the three modes. Of course, the three modes of material nature, they are working under his direction only. Okay, he is the superintendent of the three modes of material nature. So they are directly under his directions. So they are set to act when this is this. So like that. But what we can understand from the chariot model is that we, the living entity, you are the passenger in the chariot, and we are only desiring. So I'm only desiring, and as soon as the desire is there, so that desire is made into action through the three modes of material nature. So, and how it is, because Paramatma, as Paramatma, if whatever I am desiring, so he is the first person to know what I am desiring, and accordingly, suppose I am praying also, I'm praying to the Lord. So he is there. So he is hearing. So he is the first person to know. Then he sanctions. When he sanctions, the three modes of material nature are on action. If he does not sanction, then the three modes of material nature may not be in action. So he sanctions, then the three modes of material nature they perform, and the person thinks that I am doing. So it is as if like that. So otherwise, see 3.27. If we say only the three modes of material nature is working, then I am not responsible. Suppose I am killing somebody, then why should I be hanged or I'll be jailed? So I am not responsible. So we cannot give that kind of logic, because in the past of all I desired to do a particular activity, either sinful or non-sinful. So then the three modes of material nature acted on my behalf. Suppose I have some servants, okay, or some gundas, okay. I may engage them to kill somebody, but when the gundas are taken into custody, they will tell that that person has given us supari. So I will be hanged. I am the responsible person. Okay. Similarly, the three modes of material nature, of course, they don't work according to we desire, according to the direction of the Lord. So that is the thing. But in case of the servant or these gundas, they directly act on our say. But in case of three modes of material nature, the Supreme Lord will sanction first, then only they will act. Otherwise, they will not. So does that answer to somebody, other devotees, Maharaj may?
Yeah, thank you, Raji. It helped. So I understood it in this way. Like, intention is spirit souls, whereas the instrument or acting agents are three modes, and sanctioning authority is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So is it correct, or is there any deviation?
Yes. So we desire, and whether so we may desire anything, but depending upon whether we deserve or not, Lord will sanction. If we deserve, Lord will sanction immediately. Then the three modes of material nature will act on they will act on our body, and our body will do like that. Then we'll think that we are doing, but not. We are only desiring. So we may desire and deserve. When we desire and deserve is there, then the Lord may sanction, and then the three modes of material nature will do.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. Our Respect Maharaj ji is having something to add, I guess.
Yes,
Maharaj
yes,
ji, please.
yes, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat Maharaj.
I think one of the best classes I have heard on the three modes of material nature. Thank you very much. And thank you also for the peacock background. We are hearing some peacock sounds.
Yeah, a lot of peacocks are there, but right now it is, these are peacock killers.
Yeah, in between we are hearing peacocks.
Yes, sound also.
Chirping. Peacock sound. So we understand you are in surrounded by mode of goodness, especially in the morning. So yeah, thank you very much. The examples you gave, Supari example, they work on their own. At the same time, we have direction also. We have desire. So very nice realization, Prabhuji. Just wanted to thank you. Express my happiness to hear such a class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj ji. Yes, and yeah, in between of Srikant Prabhu raised the hand, if I am not wrong.
Anybody else has to add something? Madan Mohan Prabhu, you want to add something? You have achieved a lot. Book discussion.
Yes, Madan Prabhu, please, if you are fine. Yes, Govind Maharaj ji, please.
Hare Krishna, nice to see you.
Dhanavad Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Okay, I could not see your name, so that's why I could not recognize.
Yeah, so when the name is not understood, you can guess someone.
Okay.
Nice point. Yeah, this question comes again and again about this. Lord Krishna is speaking emphatically. Prakrite kriya manani gunai karmani sarvasya. Ahankara vimudhatma. Kartaham iti manati. Because this is the identity crisis we have been facing since eternity.
Yes.
Because in the true identity, the living entity's kartatva is only Krishna seva. There is no material activity. So that is a pure kartatva of the liberated soul, or the one who is not conditioned by the three modes. But under the influence of the three modes, what happens? The living entity identifies himself as the body. There is no concept of soul. He thinks the body is me, mind is me, or even under the mode of goodness, the concept that yes, I am, even the Kaivalya Vichar, Kaivalyam Satvikam Jnanam, in the mode of goodness, it is just, there is a concept of separation from matter to spirit. But what is the nature of the spirit, which Mahaprabhu says Swarupa? That is not existing. So just simply by saying that I am not matter, I am not matter, I am not matter, like in Sankhya, it would not suffice to transcend the modes. Mode of goodness appears very, very good compared to mode of passion and ignorance. But misidentification is, identity crisis also exists in mode of goodness. That's why three modes, ignorance. So when Krishna says, Prakriti kriya manani gunai karmani sarvasya, ahankara vimudhatma. So this ahankar, this thinking, that the very, very thinking about the prakriti karma, because the soul has only chinmay karma. But his identification with prakriti karma, so the modes really do it, because if he did not have the identity crisis, he would not find any attraction to the mundane activities.
Yes.
I'm doing this, I'm doing this. A devotee only takes pleasure in devotional activity. That's where the pure kartitva. So in ahankara, because of misidentification, his real kartitva is covered by the mundane activities, attraction to the mundane things, prakrita karma phal. He's working very hard, passionately or ignorance, and he's aspiring to get the fruit of his actions to enjoy independently. Same thing. It is for me. It is for me. But a devotee or a soul in a pure consciousness, he thinks. Everything is meant for Krishna. Even myself am meant for Krishna. So there is no separate interest. In the modes, it's very interesting. In Kapil Muni, when he preaches to his mother, Prithak Bhava, in a mode of goodness, in a mode devotional service, in a mode of passion, ignorance, in all three shlokas, he said Prithak Bhava. So Prithak Bhava, to have this Prithak Bhava is a mudhita. Ahankar vimudhatma. So the moment he gives up his pure kartitva of the soul devoted to Krishna, Jivere Sovi Krishna, thus Krishna calls him vimudhatma, because he has lost his real kartitva and his modes have taken over, either in mode of goodness, mode of passion, or ignorance, or combination of all of them, and he's stuck. So this vimudhatma concept is very, very clear. So in that vimudhatma, he wants to enjoy, the sense objects through the engaging his senses. That's why the foolish person, or agya, means lack of proper knowledge of the soul, he just identifies, as the doer. But he as the soul, this is what we focus. He as a soul, that kartatva is completely covered. Modes, they have given him the misidentification, the crisis, the identity crisis. And that's why Krishna calls he is Vimudhatma, under the influence of three modes. If he is not under the influence of three modes, his pure kartitva only of pure devotional service. So when we say I want to remain engaged in pure devotional service, chanting and for the pleasure of Krishna, for the pleasure of Sri Guru, activities we perform, the pure devotional, because it is in pure consciousness. We are not under the influence of the three modes. That's why Krishna doesn't call his devotee Vimudhatma. Only the non-devotees under the three modes of influence, that he is Vimudhatma. Because he is not doing. Kartaham iti manjate, he is not doing. If he were doing the soul way, it would be only pure devotional service. But he's not doing pure devotion. That's why Krishna said Vimudhatma, like that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Our Srikant Prabhuji is having something like this. Yes, Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dhanyavad, Hare Krishna.
Very nice class, definitely. Thank you very much for that. I just wanted to add something with your permission.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, definitely.
That the three modes and the Spiriton desire something, and the Lord sanctioned the three modes become the instrumental cause to have something achieved, which whatever was desired by the Spiriton in the first place. Interesting point is that this desire itself is a product of the three modes, and so therefore this free will is actually only for name's sake. So this chapter where Krishna talks about the three divisions of faith, that compulsion to desire something, that is also a kind of a juxtaposition of the three modes. Pretty much like the person who is surrounded by those people to whom he is giving supadi, that those persons themselves are like impelling that person to ordain them to kill someone. So the faith of a person, pretty much like how in a material particle we have the concept of force, mechanical or this kind of force. On the Spiriton we have the faith, which is a force on the Spiriton. That faith is decided by the three modes and the guna and karma and the previous activities. So therefore, staying in the Sattva-guna is also not enough, because these three modes are always competing with one another. Sometimes Sattva-guna is, even though one may be very much situated in Sattva-guna, but because the three modes are competing, the passion may arise at any time, and he may inadvertently may have desires which are in mode of passion. So therefore, Krishna says, you have to transcend the three modes.
Yes.
And not be compelled or impelled by them any further. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
very much.
So,
Our Balramji is having a question. If it is a quick question, we can take. So if
Yes.
not, maybe we can postpone it. Yes, Balramji, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, very nice class, Dandavat Pranam, and very interesting. And as our Praspat Maharaj said, it's one of the very best classes I hear on this three modes of material nature. So, yeah, so I have two maybe quick questions. One question is related to what our Srikant Prabhu said. This is similar. So I think I'll ask only the last part of this question. He answered almost part of the question. The question is, it's also related to our Shravan Prabhu's question. So we say, I mean, the three modes of material nature influences us, and our body also works on the three modes of material nature. So is it true, or how this works? So who actually works? The three modes of material nature works on our body, or our body works on the three modes of material nature?
See, the body is influenced by the three modes of material nature, and it will respond accordingly. So when I'm influenced by mode of goodness, so I'll think before acting. Like you slap me, so instead of immediately slapping you, I may think, or I may say, I may think that okay, it is fine, like Gandhiji. So, but if I am mode of passion, immediately I retaliate. That means the modes of these three modes of material nature we can acquire in our, and accordingly our body will respond. So this is not inbuilt in the body itself. Otherwise, we cannot transcend these three modes of material nature. Because at one point, pure devotee, when their body becomes completely pure, so there is no tinge of even the Sattva-guna, mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, everything gone. It's totally transcendental. So these are not part of the body. We can acquire. These are actually in the nature, in the material nature itself. Actually, when the creation takes place. So if you see, I think I presented also once that this before major creation, actually, even creation of sound, the tamas, the avidya is created. Even before creation of Brahma itself also. Avidya, this is the Maya. Avidya is Maya, and it is the three modes of Maya. So this it is there actually from the beginning itself. So that's pradhana and three modes of material nature. Together they make the prakriti. So three modes of material nature eternally existing in as a setup in this material universe. These are not there in the spiritual world. So these are not part of my body itself, because my body I can spiritualize completely. So these are, we can acquire these modes. These are present in the nature. Am I answering your question, Prabhu?
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Maybe we will discuss some other time. I have another short question. This is about this the interaction between the three modes of material nature. So among these three modes, so there are sandhyas. You said morning, evening, and there are sandhyas. So those sandhyas, at those points, they interact with each other. So, in those times, because it goes in a cycle, so there is a transition from. So that means, it's not directly that they don't interact with each other, they don't mix with each other, but they mix at the Sundays, isn't it? Huh?
That is the overlapping period. That is okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, overlapping period, and that's why in the Sandhya period, if you do all, because if you depend upon, if you pray or if you do bhajan, so you'll not be influenced. So most of the Sandhyas we do Gayatri. So
that's why, that's why to keep this mode in intact, let's say if we are in the Sattva-guna, if we keep this, if we want to keep this Sattva-guna intact, then the sandhyas we have to pray. Yeah, we have to do the prayer in the sandhyas so that we don't transit to the other modes. Yeah, is it true?
Yes. That is the general idea.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Balramji, for the questions and making it short. And thank you, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, I have a small comment, rather than comment, I can say conveying my understanding. So, may I? Prabhuji, is my voice audible?
It is feeble.
Yeah, so I have a little bit a different understanding. So, may I explain?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so regarding our Srikant Prabhuji's edition.
Yeah.
So and you have rightly brought out the chariot model, because it is the point where it gives the entire explanation. And
yes.
So the individual soul either can misuse his free will or properly use his free will. So we cannot rule out the point of free will at any point of time, because it is one of the fundamental properties of the spiriton. And maybe our Srikant Prabhu's intention is not conveying that we can rule out the thing. Yeah. So, and the other point is by properly using free will, we can actually come out of three modes, even after which we can have actions. So actually, three modes are facilitating or being the instruments if we properly use, I mean, or misuse. There is a bit of conflict here. So it is a two-way communication until unless we come out of the three modes. Till then, it is actually a two-way communication. It happens between the spiriton and the modes. So either we can be under the influence of three modes because of how our decisions are being influenced, and because of that decisions we can misuse our free will, and because of which the three modes again will become the instrument of our actions. So this is how I am understanding it. Maybe
Yes.
we can discuss it more.
Just I
time
want to
permits.
add just
Yes,
one,
yes, Prabhu.
one sentence I want to add. The desire is intrinsic to the living entity. Desire cannot be taken away, and it is not the product of three modes of matter nature. But what happens is, just like a white light is there, there is a red screen. So light may look like red. So when I am influenced by a particular mode, my desire may be something to sense gratification. But desiring itself in its ontology is not the product of three modes of matter nature. That is intrinsic to the living entity. Okay.
So desire is intrinsic to the
This soul, spirit soul.
soul, whereas the factors influencing how we are making desires, it depends on three modes. That is what actually
So desire may
Srikant Prabhu has himself conveyed in one of his classes when he proposed this computer simulation model of chariot model. And he has rightly conveyed that point there. So it is a two-way communication. Yeah, maybe our Govind Maharaj is having something. Let us hear from Maharaj for 2 minutes max, and then we can.
Beautiful discussion, Prabhu. I wanted your and also Srikant Prabhu's answer, because this understanding that the three modes influence the consciousness, because soul itself, soul proper is above the three modes. Consciousness is, then consciousness has influence on the body, mind, and everything. Is it a right way of understanding it? Because ultimately what matters is our consciousness, the reaction of the body, mind, and everything. The soul and consciousness, although they are inseparable, still it is the consciousness which becomes covered and touched or influenced. Soul itself being antimatter cannot be influenced by the three modes. Is it right way to understand the influence of the three modes on the body directly, but it's through the consciousness, isn't it?
Yes, Maharaj, what I understand like that, because Prabhupada also gives, like, you cannot contaminate water, even if it is muddy water. Water in its ontology is not contaminated. It is only something added. So in that context, we can understand.
Yeah, Srikant Prabhu, please.
Actually, this thing is so interesting. I'll not add much on this, because yeah, desire is very intrinsic to the spiriton, and the consciousness. There is one contaminated consciousness is a part of this material nature, one of the 25 elements actually, and the pure consciousness is very much in Tattva Sandarbha, Jiva Goswamiji says that the soul is consciousness and has consciousness, both. So this has consciousness is one which, when it gets contaminated, it becomes a part of this material nature. And when I said that, yeah, desire definitely is not a product of the three modes, it is intrinsic. The conclusion, the last insertion I want to make is that what essentially we mean when we say that we transcend the three modes. So the idea is that instead of being employed by the three modes, we rather employ the three modes themselves in service of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
And transcending the three modes means we don't respond, or we become it becomes irrelevant for us to respond to the which is the activity which is performed in the three modes. That means it's beyond. If he wishes to, he is not actually influenced to do something. So that I think that's I can understand.
That is in the material existence. One says that everyone is afflicted by the three modes. So transcending means we can employ, like how Brahmaji employed Rajoguna in service of creation. Arjuna employed Rajoguna in fighting. So that's the idea. Tamoguna is one thing which cannot be employed except a sleeping thing. And Satoguna also, if it is not employed in service of Krishna, it will bind. So therefore, Krishna is inducing us to transcend the three modes by employing them in my service. And so in this way, the three modes will not bind us and will not be touched by the three modes.
Sagunan Samadhi Paitan Brahma Bhyaya Karta.
Yes.
So this bhakti principle, what is the resting place of bhakti? Because we bring consciousness in the picture. So what is the resting place of bhakti which helps us to transcend the three modes? So ultimately, the consciousness when becomes transcendentalized, then the three modes are transcended, isn't it? The bhakti resides in the consciousness. Because apparent bhakti, our performing various activities could be sometimes misleading. It's in the consciousness. When
Yes.
bhakti is awakened, then three modes are transcended. It's always the consciousness which plays the role, isn't it?
Yes, Maharaj.
Otherwise, how we define transcending? Because the body is made of three modes: prakriti, mind, intelligence, and everything. It's always the consciousness. When consciousness is in Krishna consciousness, and the three modes are transcended instantaneously. So it's in the consciousness the bhakti when resides. When bhakti is manifested, then three modes are transcended, isn't it?
Yes, Maharaj. I think so.
Beautiful. Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare
Yes, and yes, probably we will conclude for the day.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to all the devotees for nice questions and nice discussion also. Thank you, Maharaj, Govind Maharaj and Pradipti Maharaj and other devotees also. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Guru Maharaj, Pad Maharaj ki jai.
Yeah.
Jai.
Ram ki jai. Jai Gaur Pramanande.
Hare Hare Bol.
His grace, Haripal Prabhu ki jai. Thank you all for
Jai.
joining and patiently
All
being
glory
with
to
us.
God. Hare Krishna.
See you all in tomorrow's class at 7:30. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.